We've already compared the new Nick Walker from the 2026 Tampa Pro against the best bodybuilders in the world at their absolute best. First, he took on Andrew Jack from the 2026 Arnold UK, then Derek Lunsford from the 2025 Arnold Classic, and finally Samson Dauda from his 2024 Mr. Olympia winning performance. And let's just say, he did very, very well. But today, we're putting this version of Nick to the ultimate test. He's going up against what I personally believe is the best physique of the decade so far, Hadi Choopan at the 2024 Arnold Classic. So without further ado, let's get into the comparison. Front double biceps, and even though Nick Walker absolutely dominates Hadi Choopan in the arms department, when you look at the pose as a whole, Hadi simply looks incredible against him. Hadi has the smaller waist, and on top of that he hits a perfect vacuum, which only accentuates his already far superior quad sweep. He displays a textbook X-frame in this pose, while Nick by comparison looks noticeably top heavy. Now, Nick did an excellent job controlling his midsection at the 2026 Tampa Pro, and this is by far the best we've ever seen him in the front double biceps in the past couple of years. Standing on his own, he looks fantastic. But bodybuilding is a comparison sport. It doesn't matter how good you look by yourself, it matters how you look standing next to the other guy. And here, even though you all know I'm probably Nick Walker's biggest fan, I have to call it as I see it. Nick is clearly losing the front double biceps to Hadi. There's really no debate about this one. Front lat spread is next, and this is still Nick's weakest pose, despite the improvements he made to the execution. We all know he's simply not built for this pose, which rewards almost the exact opposite of what his structure offers. His wider waist, narrower clavicles, longer torso, and shorter limbs all work against him here. At the same time though, I don't think Hadi looks nearly as dominant as he did in the front double biceps. Don't get me wrong, he's still incredibly wide, his V-taper is outstanding thanks to that tiny waist, and those quads were absolutely insane at the 2024 Arnold Classic. However, Hadi's biggest weakness is on full display in this pose. His shoulders. I'm not trying to nitpick, but they really stand out, and not in a good way. It's one of the few things that prevents this pose from looking almost perfect. That said, it's nowhere near enough to cost him the pose against Nick. Hadi's superior structure, taper, and overall flow still make this a comfortable win. Hadi Choopan takes the front lat spread as well, extending his lead to 2-0. Side chest is next, and this is usually where Nick Walker starts to make his comeback. This comparison doesn't seem to be any different. What I will say is that Hadi definitely looks more aesthetic in this pose, but we've already rewarded his superior aesthetics in the front poses, where I believe structure and flow carry much more weight. Aesthetics are important in every pose, of course, but in poses like the side chest, I think they take a secondary role behind roundness, fullness, and overall muscularity. At least that's how I understand bodybuilding. When I look at his side chest, I want to see thick, round, three-dimensional muscle bellies, while still taking into account the usual criteria like conditioning, mass, and proportions. Nick simply brings more of that here. His shoulders look fuller and more natural, and no, I'm not talking about being drug-free. He also clearly dominates the arms, especially the forearms. I also prefer Nick's side leg, with the superior hamstring drop adding a lot to the overall presentation. The chest is usually the biggest argument against Nick in this pose, but after 2022, Hadi has lost some of that incredible chest pop that made this pose nearly untouchable. The gap isn't nearly as big anymore. Overall, I think Nick has just enough advantages to edge this one. Nick Walker wins the side chest, cutting Hadi's lead to 2-1. Back double biceps is next, and here we're looking at one of Nick Walker's strongest poses against one of Hadi Choopan's least impressive ones. Nick absolutely destroys Hadi from the waist down. He has more mass, better conditioning, superior detail, and the difference in the hamstrings and calves isn't even close. When it comes to the actual back, you could argue that Nick could use a bit more depth in certain areas, but even then, I still don't think Hadi's back as a whole can compete with Nick's in this pose. Nick simply presents the more complete package from the rear. The arms and shoulders are another blowout in Nick's favor. They're bigger, fuller, and much more dominant, adding even more to an already commanding pose. This is total domination from the mutant. Nick Walker takes the back double biceps with ease, tying the comparison at 2-2. The back lat spread is a different story. For Hadi, this is a much stronger pose than the back double biceps, while for Nick it's actually the opposite. Because of that, the gap between them is much smaller here. In fact, Hadi has a very strong case to win this pose. Nick's lower body dominance is still incredibly difficult to ignore. His hamstrings, calves, conditioning, and overall detail from the waist down remain on another level. At the same time though, I really like Hadi's back in this pose. He has the depth that Nick is missing, and I also think he displays superior width. Everything flows together extremely well, making for a very complete back lat spread. This one is genuinely close, and I could easily understand someone giving it to Nick because of the lower body, but personally, I think Hadi's superiority in the actual back is just enough to outweigh Nick's advantages downstairs. So I'm giving the back lat spread to Hadi Choopan, extending his lead to 3-2. Side triceps is next, and at first glance your eyes are immediately drawn to Hadi Choopan. The level of detail and muscle separation he displays from this angle is simply outstanding. Once again, he manages to make a side pose look incredibly aesthetic. But then you look at Nick Walker. Nick is presenting almost the same level of conditioning and polish. Yes, his midsection isn't as impressive as Hadi's, but it's still arguably the second best side triceps midsection in the IFBB today. More importantly, Nick looks like Hadi on steroids, if you know what I mean. The difference in overall size, muscle fullness, and sheer density is enormous. On top of that, this is the side triceps, and Nick's actual triceps are simply on another level. Add in his superior side leg once again, and I think he has just enough to edge the pose. So even though Hadi looks absolutely statuesque here, I have to judge the pose based on today's criteria. And for me, Nick Walker takes the side triceps. The score is now tied once again at 3-3. Abs and thighs is next, and this pose has improved dramatically for Nick Walker. That being said, Hadi is simply better where it matters most. He has the superior abs, the superior thighs, the smaller waist, and ultimately, the more complete presentation for this pose. I have to repeat it once again, Nick genuinely impresses me here. Considering the current state of the abs and thighs pose in the open class, I honestly think this version of Nick has a top 5 abs and thighs in the world. The problem is that he's standing next to Hadi Choopan. Hadi isn't just one of the best in today's lineup, he probably has the best abs and thighs in the world and one of the greatest versions of this pose we've ever seen. It's a comfortable point for the Persian Wolf, who takes a 4-3 lead heading into the final pose. The most muscular is next, and both of them look incredible here. What's interesting is that each of them seems to be missing exactly what the other guy brings. Nick is lacking Hadi's chest separation and those incredible quad sweeps, while Hadi is giving up Nick's massive arms, capped shoulders, and overall upper body fullness. I'm sure plenty of people will give this pose to Hadi, and I completely understand why. But for me, the most important criterion in the most muscular is exactly what the name suggests: muscularity. Nick is simply the more muscular athlete. He doesn't have any drastic weaknesses in this pose, and overall I think he presents the more dominant and complete look. There's also the one hand on hip variation, where both athletes expose their midsections a lot more. Yes, Hadi still has the superior midsection, but Nick's tighter waist at the 2026 Tampa Pro flows much better with the rest of his physique than it ever has before. In my opinion, he wins that variation as well, so I'm giving the most muscular to Nick Walker, tying the comparison at 4-4. But don't make any mistake about it. I'm probably Nick Walker's biggest fan, yet I still believe this matchup goes to Hadi Choopan. Yes, the final score is 4-4, but bodybuilding isn't just about counting poses. It's also about how you win them. Hadi's victories were simply more convincing. When he won a pose, he won it decisively, whereas most of Nick's wins were much closer. That's why I still consider Hadi Choopan at the 2024 Arnold Classic to be the best physique of the decade so far, and comfortably one of the 10 greatest bodybuilding physiques of all time.